Hello and welcome to the second episode of The Heart. My name is Nicole Shappett. We at Houghton Physical Therapy wanted to acknowledge all of the essential workers out there. We appreciate you. We hope you are all staying happy and healthy during this time. I know that speaking to my friends, family, and seeing lots of social media posts, it's been very difficult for everyone to eat healthy these days, which is why I wanted to sit down with my friend, Adam Johnson, and talk to him about eating for your goals and how to achieve those goals. I know he's very passionate about fitness and nutrition. Adam Johnson is a physical therapy assistant at Houghton Physical Therapy. He is a certified strength and conditioning specialist. He's a certified ACE personal trainer and a certified ACE health coach. Stay tuned. Hi, Adam. How are you?
Good. How are you, Nicole?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. So our topic today for the heart is healthy body. And one of the ways to do that is to consume the proper nutrition. And I thought you would be a great person to talk to about that because I know how educated you are on this topic. So one of our challenges in the month of May at Houghton Physical Therapy is to eat healthy. And I wanted to ask you, what does that mean to you, healthy eating?
And I think that's a great term, healthy eating. And I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, it means eating for your goal and eating to mitigate disease risk. So our goal being weight gain or weight loss, and mitigating disease risk being avoiding or decreasing our risk for preventable chronic diseases such as certain cancers, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, things like that.
I think that's great. Can you elaborate a little bit on what it means to eat for your goals?
Definitely. So eating for your goals, I think for most people, it's a weight issue. So whether it's gaining weight or for most people, losing weight. So to do that, we need to look at calorie balance, which is the balance of what we take in or what we consume versus what we burn or expend. So to lose weight, we need to be in a deficit. So we need to burn more than we are consuming.
Okay, so what is the way that you would recommend that people track their calories on a daily basis?
I think the best way for most people is using the calorie tracker apps on your smartphone. So things like MyFitnessPal, that's my favorite one. They're very easy to use, very straightforward, and they track your calories, and they also track your macronutrients and micronutrients.
Okay. And so can you go into a little bit more detail about macronutrients and micronutrients and what type of calories that we should be consuming?
Yeah, definitely. So under the umbrella of calories, we have macronutrients or macros. So we have protein, fat, and carbs. So pretty much every food we eat is going to get broken into one of those three building blocks, essentially. So with carbohydrates, the range we're trying to shoot for most people is 45 to 65% of our total calories for the day. Fats, we're going to be at 20 to 35% for the day, and protein 10 to 35% for the day. And those are just general recommendations for most healthy people, most healthy adults. But if you're on a keto diet or a low fat or high fat diet, these numbers may be a little bit different for you.
Right. And I think that's great because on apps like MyFitnessPal, it does kind of you punch in what you're eating and it breaks it down into the different categories. So you know what percentage of each thing that you're eating. When we had talked earlier, you mentioned that high-level athletes, strength athletes may definitely, if that's, they have a different goal in mind. So their protein intake might need to be a little bit different. Can you elaborate on that?
Yep, definitely. So for most healthy adults, the protein recommendation is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, or it's 0.36 grams per pound of body weight.
Okay.
So for the endurance athlete, the recommendation is going to be a little bit higher. So that's going to be around 5.5 to 0.6 grams per pound, or 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram of body weight. And strength athletes, it's going to be even a little bit higher. So 0.7 to 0.8 grams per pound, or 1.6 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight.
Right. So those are the things that I think are important to consider when you're talking about eating for your goals, that your the different percentages might vary based on what your goals are. So I think that's amazing. So a couple of things you talked about is just total caloric intake, burning more than you consume if you want to lose weight, and then the percentages of the macros that you're consuming is another thing to pay attention to in regards to what you're taking in. Can you speak a little bit about what we should limit or avoid?
Yep. So as far as things we want to limit or avoid, I'd say processed foods, processed meats in particular, we really want to limit how much of those we're taking in, because there is a link to certain cancers with increased consumption of those processed meats. Added sugars, another big one we want to try to stay away from as much as we can. We want to try to limit those to less than 10% of our total calorie intake for the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we had talked about this a little bit earlier also about, I think when people are looking at nutrition labels and everything is in grams, it's really hard to kind of convert that into what we understand. And so we did a little bit of research, and so 4 grams of added sugar equals 1 teaspoon. So a lot of popular energy drinks and sodas have upwards of 15 or more teaspoons of sugar in one bottle, which is kind of a crazy concept to visualize.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot, but like you said, they're kind of sneaky. They're in everyday drinks. We add it to our coffee, foods we eat, and it's kind of an insidious thing. It's just they're everywhere, and they add up very quickly. So it's a good thing to pay attention to.
Absolutely, definitely. So now, what would you recommend in making these goals attainable for people? So how would you say it is achievable to eat healthy?
Yep. So that's kind of the key, right? Is kind of tying it all together and creating an action plan and being successful. I think the best tips would be just to keep it simple, and make it easy on yourself, and also be easy on yourself. You're going to have setbacks. It's not going to be perfect from day one or week one. You're going to have failures, and you're going to learn something, but the key is to just adjust and move on. And tying that into kind of the grocery store to our plates. What are the best tips I can give for that? I'd say, again, remember your goals. So lose weight, gain weight, whatever the goal is, keep that in mind. You want to decide on your meals for the week. So look at breakfast, lunch, dinner. What am I going to be eating? And then also think of how am I going to be making this available to myself? Am I going to prep on, let's say, a Sunday and kind of get the whole week done? Am I going to do a little bit each day, let's say a Sunday and a Wednesday? It's going to be different for everyone, but you got to figure out your schedule and what works for you. So we have our goals, we have our plan, and then you got to decide, what do I want to do to minimize my risk of buying this junk food? So you want to make sure you're well fed and not going to the grocery store hungry. If I am the biggest victim of chip purchases if I'm hungry. So if I don't eat before going to the grocery store, I'm totally buying 2 to 3 bags of chips. So
I'm totally gonna try that. It's not even something I've ever paid attention. I feel like I tend to go to the grocery store when I am hungry. I feel like that's the habit I've gotten into.
Oh yeah.
Totally gonna try that too.
Yep. All right. So we have our goals, we have our plan, we have our strategies, and now we're in the grocery store. So what do we do? Where do we go? You want to focus most of your time and most of your money being spent on the perimeter of the store. So think fruits, vegetables, our meats, our proteins. So really the kind of the whole foods. So really not a lot of processed foods going into that cart. And it's okay, obviously, if you need a couple things here and there in the middle of the store, but you don't want to spend all your time in those middle aisles. A lot of processed foods, a lot of added sugars, like we talked about.
Right.
Snacks, all the treats, all the good stuff. It tends to hang out in the middle of the store.
Right. Yes, there was another good tip I just thought of when you were saying that about the perimeter of the store. That I went to a seminar about healthy eating, and it talked about trying to get a lot of different colors into your cart too, when you are kind of in that fruits and vegetables section, almost like all the colors of the rainbow, and try and fill your cart up with a lot of different colors when you're shopping in that fruits and vegetables section. So the perimeter's the place to be.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, Adam. Thank you so much for all your healthy eating tips. That was fantastic. We want to hear from you, our listeners. Definitely put in some comments about any of your healthy eating tips, or email us at theheart@houghtonphysicaltherapy.com. Thanks so much, Adam.
All right. Thank you.